Money does not change people. It reveals them. A disciplined mind becomes more powerful with money. A distracted mind becomes more dangerous with it. That is why some people earn more every year, yet continue living with stress, confusion, and quiet desperation behind closed doors. Their income changes, but their habits remain the same. Their lifestyle expands, but their mindset stays trapped in fear, impulse, and emotional chaos. And eventually, they realize something painful. More money did not create freedom. It simply magnified who they already were. Because financial success is never only financial. It is psychological. The way you think determines how you respond to pressure, how long you stay focused, what you tolerate, what you chase, what you sacrifice, and ultimately, the future you create for yourself. Long before wealth appears in your bank account, it appears in your daily behavior, in the ability to stay calm when life becomes uncertain, in the discipline to keep working when results are invisible, in the decision to think long-term while the rest of the world becomes addicted to comfort, distraction, and instant gratification. And this is where the separation begins. Because the people who eventually build wealth are not always the smartest. They are not always the most talented. Often, they are simply the people who learned how to think differently. While others react emotionally, they stay patient. While others chase attention, they build quietly. While others waste years blaming circumstances, they take responsibility and adapt. That difference changes everything. You can see it everywhere. One person spends years trying to look successful. Expensive clothes, expensive lifestyle, constant comparison, constant pressure to impress people who are equally lost. Another person lives quietly, learns constantly, develops discipline, improves skills, protects focus, controls emotions, builds slowly. At first, they may look the same, but 5 years later, their lives become completely different. Because wealth is rarely built through dramatic moments. It is built through repeated mental decisions nobody sees. The decision to stay focused instead of distracted. The decision to delay pleasure instead of chasing temporary comfort. The decision to continue building when motivation disappears. The decision to become stronger internally before demanding external success. And that is difficult in today's world. Because modern life trains people to lose control of themselves. Everything is fighting for your attention. Your phone, your emotions, your impulses, your need for validation, your fear of missing out, your addiction to comfort. People are constantly stimulated but internally exhausted, entertained but unfocused, connected to everyone yet disconnected from themselves. And in that environment, mindset becomes power, real power. The ability to control your thoughts when life becomes difficult. The ability to stay disciplined when nobody is watching. The ability to think clearly while others panic emotionally. The ability to continue building your future even when progress feels slow. That is the foundation of long-term wealth. Not luck, not shortcuts, not empty motivation. Because motivation fades quickly. Emotions change daily. Excitement disappears the moment life becomes uncomfortable. But mindset becomes the structure you stand on when everything else feels uncertain. A powerful mindset allows you to handle pressure without collapsing, to stay patient without becoming discouraged, to stay focused without needing constant praise, to build silently without needing the world's approval. And once that internal shift happens, your entire life begins changing with it. New thinking creates new decisions. New decisions create new habits. New habits create a new identity. And eventually, that identity creates a completely different future. In this audiobook, you're going to discover 8 mindset shifts that quietly separate people who stay stuck from people who slowly build discipline, confidence, freedom, and lasting wealth. These are not overnight success tricks, not fantasy, not superficial motivation designed to excite you for one day and disappear the next. These are deep internal shifts that change the way you think, act, respond, and live. Because before you can build millions in the outside world, you must first build the mindset capable of creating them. Chapter 1. Stop thinking like a victim. The fastest way to destroy your future is to believe that your life is controlled entirely by other people, bad luck, or unfair circumstances. Because the moment you believe you are powerless, you stop looking for solutions, and once that happens, growth quietly disappears from your life. Victim thinking is dangerous because it feels justified. You lose money and you blame the economy. You fail once and you blame timing. You stay distracted and you blame stress. You avoid discipline and you blame exhaustion. Over time, the habit becomes automatic. Your mind starts searching for excuses before it searches for responsibility, and eventually, you begin living in reaction instead of creation. That mindset keeps millions of people trapped for years, not because they lack intelligence, not because they lack potential, but because they unconsciously gave away their power. A victim mindset sounds subtle at first. I can't succeed because I started too late. People like me never get opportunities. I'm too stressed to focus. I'll change when life becomes easier. But hidden inside every one of those thoughts is the same belief. My future depends on forces outside of me. And once a person believes that, they stop building. Because why would someone work hard to change a life they secretly believe they cannot control? This is why personal responsibility is one of the most powerful mindset shifts a person can make. The moment you take ownership of your life, your energy changes, your thinking changes, your standards change, even your posture changes. Because responsibility creates power, not instant success, not immediate results, but power. The power to respond differently, the power to improve, the power to adapt instead of complain. And the people who eventually build wealth understand this deeply. They do not waste years waiting for perfect conditions. They understand that life will always be difficult in one way or another. There will always be uncertainty, competition, pressure, disappointment, unexpected setbacks. But instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can I do now?" That single question changes everything. Because your life improves the moment your focus shifts from blame to action. Think about it carefully. Two people can experience the exact same problem. One person spends months complaining about it, replaying the pain, seeking sympathy, and waiting for motivation to appear. The other person accepts reality quickly, adjusts, learns, and keeps moving. Years later, their lives look completely different. Not because one person had an easier path, but because one person chose ownership while the other chose emotional comfort. And emotional comfort is expensive. Blaming others feels good temporarily because it protects the ego. It removes responsibility. It allows you to avoid confronting difficult truths about your habits, discipline, mindset, or decisions. But while excuses protect your feelings, they destroy your future. Because nothing changes until ownership begins. There is a moment many successful people experience that completely transforms their life. It usually happens after disappointment, failure, heartbreak, financial struggle, or emotional exhaustion. They suddenly realize, no one is coming to save me. At first, that realization feels heavy, but eventually, it becomes freeing. Because if nobody is coming to save you, then your future finally belongs to you. That is when people stop waiting, stop blaming, stop depending on motivation, and start building, quietly, consistently, without needing perfect conditions. A powerful life begins when you stop asking life to become easier and start asking yourself to become stronger. And that shift affects everything. Your finances improve because you stop spending emotionally. Your focus improves because you stop making excuses. Your confidence improves because you begin keeping promises to yourself. Your future improves because your actions finally align with responsibility instead of avoidance. This does not mean ignoring pain or pretending life is fair. Some people truly experience difficult circumstances. Some people start behind others. Some people face losses, rejection, trauma, and obstacles that nobody sees. But even then, the question remains the same. What can I control now? That question creates movement, and movement creates momentum. Victim thinking creates paralysis because it keeps your attention trapped on things outside your control. Ownership redirects your attention toward action. That is where growth lives. Not in blaming, not in complaining, not in waiting, but in action repeated consistently over time. You do not need to control everything to change your life. You only need to control what happens next. And often, that starts with very small decisions. Waking up earlier, turning off distractions, learning a skill, saving money instead of wasting it, reading instead of scrolling, keeping your word even when nobody is watching. These actions may seem small in the beginning, but they slowly rebuild your identity. Because every disciplined action sends a message to your mind, I'm no longer powerless. And once a person truly believes they can influence their future, everything changes. They become harder to stop, more focused, more resilient, more patient, more dangerous in the best possible way, because they no longer waste energy asking whether life is fair. They are too busy building. The truth is, wealthy and successful people are not perfect human beings. They experience fear, uncertainty, self-doubt, and failure like everyone else. The difference is that they refuse to stay emotionally trapped inside those experiences. They adapt, they learn, they continue. And that mindset alone separates people who remain stuck for decades from people who slowly transform their entire life. Because the moment you take ownership, you take your power back. Chapter 2. Control your desires before they control you. One of the biggest reasons people stay financially stuck has nothing to do with intelligence. It has everything to do with self-control. Because a person who cannot control impulses will eventually struggle to control money, emotions, focus, time, and ultimately, their future. Modern life is designed to make people emotionally weak. Everything around you is built to trigger desire instantly. Buy this, watch this, eat this, scroll more, react faster, consume constantly. The world trains people to chase feelings instead of building discipline. And over time, that creates a dangerous habit, living for temporary comfort while sacrificing long-term growth. This is why so many people sabotage their own potential without realizing it. Not because they are incapable, but because they became addicted to immediate pleasure. The uncomfortable truth is that comfort can quietly destroy ambition. When a person constantly chooses what feels good in the moment, they slowly weaken their ability to tolerate discomfort. And without discomfort, growth becomes impossible. Because every meaningful transformation requires resistance. Discipline requires resistance. Saving money requires resistance. Building a business requires resistance. Improving your health requires resistance. Staying focused in a distracted world requires resistance. Yet most people spend their lives trying to avoid discomfort at all costs. They avoid difficult conversations, difficult work, difficult habits, difficult truth, and eventually they create a comfortable life that quietly keeps them trapped. That is why emotional discipline is one of the rarest forms of power today. The ability to say no to yourself changes everything. No to impulsive spending. No to distractions. No to emotional reactions. No to temporary pleasures destroying long-term goals. At first, discipline feels restrictive, but eventually it becomes freedom. Because every time you control an impulse instead of obeying it, you strengthen your mind. You prove to yourself that emotions are not in charge anymore, and that changes your identity. Think about how many lives are damaged simply because people cannot delay gratification. People destroy savings for status, destroy focus for entertainment, destroy opportunities for comfort, destroy relationships for temporary emotion, destroy years of progress because they could not tolerate short-term discomfort. And the dangerous part is that these decisions rarely feel destructive in the moment. They feel harmless. One unnecessary purchase, one wasted evening, one distraction, one excuse. But repeated daily, those small decisions slowly shape an entire future. A weak mindset always asks, what feels good right now? A disciplined mindset asks, what will matter later? That single shift separates people who stay trapped from people who slowly build freedom. Because wealthy people often think differently about pleasure. They understand that short-term sacrifice creates long-term peace. While others spend impulsively to impress strangers, disciplined people quietly invest in their future. While others chase entertainment constantly, disciplined people protect their attention. While others seek comfort every day, disciplined people train themselves to tolerate difficulty, and that difference compounds over years. The ability to delay gratification is not just about money. It affects every area of life. A person who cannot control spending usually struggles to control emotions. A person who cannot control attention usually struggles to build mastery. A person who constantly seeks pleasure often avoids growth entirely, because growth feels uncomfortable before it feels rewarding. That is why discipline must become stronger than mood. If your actions depend entirely on motivation, your life will always feel unstable. Motivation changes daily. Emotions change hourly. But disciplined people learn how to act even when they do not feel like it. They work without excitement. They stay consistent without applause. They continue building when progress feels invisible. And eventually, those invisible actions create visible results. This is where many people fail to understand wealth. They think wealth is created through dramatic moments. One lucky opportunity, one big breakthrough, one massive decision. But real wealth is usually built through quiet consistency, daily control, repeated discipline, small sacrifices repeated for years. And unfortunately, that process feels boring to people addicted to stimulation. The modern world rewards impulse, but long-term success rewards restraint. That is why emotional control has become a competitive advantage. A person who controls desires becomes difficult to manipulate, difficult to distract, difficult to break, because they are no longer controlled by every urge, craving, emotion, or temporary feeling. They choose direction over impulse, purpose over pleasure, future over comfort. And that mindset slowly changes everything. Your finances improve because you stop wasting energy and money emotionally. Your confidence improves because you begin trusting yourself. Your focus improves because distractions lose power over you. Your discipline improves because you stop negotiating with every feeling. Over time, you become calmer, stronger, clearer, more intentional. Not because life became easier, but because your mind became stronger. And once that happens, your entire future changes. Because success is rarely about doing extraordinary things once. It is about mastering yourself repeatedly. Every day, every choice, every moment nobody sees. The strongest people are not the people who never feel temptation. They are the people who refuse to become controlled by it. And in a world addicted to comfort, distraction, and instant gratification, self-control becomes a form of quiet wealth. Because the ability to control yourself is the ability to change your life. Chapter 3. Think long-term, while others think emotionally. One emotional decision can destroy years of progress. A person spends months building discipline, then quits because results feel slow. Someone saves money consistently, then destroys momentum with impulsive spending. A person starts improving their life, but abandons the process the moment discomfort appears. This is the danger of emotional thinking. It makes temporary feelings feel more important than long-term outcomes, and unfortunately, most people live this way without realizing it. They make decisions based on mood instead of vision, based on frustration instead of patience, based on temporary emotion instead of long-term strategy. That is why so many people constantly restart their lives. They start, stop, lose focus, get discouraged, try again, repeat the cycle. Not because they are incapable of success, but because they never stay consistent long enough to experience compounding. And compounding is one of the most powerful forces in life. Not just financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Every repeated action compounds into identity. Every repeated thought compounds into mindset. Every repeated decision compounds into a future. The problem is that compounding feels invisible in the beginning. And emotionally driven people hate invisible progress. They want immediate proof, immediate rewards, immediate validation. But long-term success rarely works that way. At first, growth feels painfully slow. You work hard and see almost nothing. You stay disciplined and nobody notices. You improve quietly while the outside world looks unchanged. And this is usually the moment when emotional people quit. Because emotions are impatient. They constantly ask, "Why isn't this happening faster?" But disciplined people think differently. They understand that meaningful growth takes time. A tree does not become strong overnight. A powerful body is not built in a week. Financial freedom is not created in a month. And mental transformation certainly does not happen instantly. Everything valuable requires repetition, consistency, patience. Yet modern culture trains people to expect speed in everything. Fast money, fast success, fast results, fast validation. People are becoming emotionally addicted to immediacy, and because of that, they struggle to stay committed to anything difficult long enough for it to change their life. That is why patience has become rare, and rare qualities create powerful people. Think about how many individuals destroy their future simply because they could not tolerate temporary discomfort. They quit businesses too early, quit relationships too early, quit goals too early, quit personal growth too early. Not because success was impossible, but because progress was slower than their emotions wanted. And emotions can be deceptive. A bad week can make someone believe their entire life is failing. One rejection can make someone doubt their value. One setback can make someone abandon years of momentum. That is why emotional stability is essential for long-term success. You cannot build a powerful future if your emotions constantly control your direction, because life will test you repeatedly. There will be seasons where nothing seems to work, moments where effort feels invisible, periods where other people appear to move ahead faster than you. And if you think emotionally in those moments, you will constantly sabotage yourself. You will compare, panic, rush decisions, seek shortcuts, abandon the process. But long-term thinkers understand something emotionally reactive people never fully learn. Temporary discomfort is not failure. Slow progress is not failure. Silence is not failure. Invisible growth is still growth. And once you truly understand that, patience becomes easier. You stop expecting instant transformation. You stop needing constant validation. You stop reacting emotionally every time life becomes uncertain. Instead, you focus on the process. Quietly, daily, consistently, even when nobody notices. This is how real wealth is built. Not through emotional highs, but through repeated discipline over long periods of time. A person who stays focused for 5 years becomes almost impossible to compete with, not because they are naturally superior, but because consistency creates depth. Most people never stay committed long enough to experience what consistent effort can actually do. They underestimate what can change in a decade because they are obsessed with what can change in a week. And this mindset affects everything. A person thinking emotionally asks, "How do I feel today?" A long-term thinker asks, "Who am I becoming?" That single difference changes behavior completely. Because when your identity becomes more important than your mood, consistency becomes easier. You stop making decisions based on temporary emotions. You start making decisions based on future consequences, and that is maturity. The ability to sacrifice immediate comfort for long-term freedom. The ability to stay calm while others panic. The ability to continue building while others quit emotionally. This is why some people quietly transform their lives, while others remain stuck for decades repeating the same cycles. Long-term thinkers understand that life rewards endurance, not excitement, not intensity, endurance. The ability to continue, to adapt, to remain disciplined long after motivation disappears. And eventually, that consistency creates something powerful, trust in yourself. Because every time you continue despite difficulty, you strengthen your identity. You begin proving to yourself, "I can stay committed." That confidence becomes life-changing, not loud confidence, not ego, internal confidence. The kind built through repeated discipline. The kind nobody can give you and nobody can take away. And once you develop that mindset, setbacks stop controlling you because you understand something most people never fully realize. A bad moment is not a bad future. A slow season is not a failed life. And temporary discomfort is often the price of long-term transformation. The people who eventually build extraordinary lives are usually not the people moving the fastest. They are the people who refuse to stop building, quietly, patiently, consistently, while everyone else keeps reacting emotionally to every temporary problem. Because rich lives are rarely built quickly. They are built slowly, then suddenly. Chapter 4. Protect your focus like your future depends on it. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you own. And yet, most people give it away all day without thinking, to notifications, to meaningless entertainment, to endless scrolling, to drama, to noise, to people who add nothing to their future. Then they wonder why they feel mentally exhausted, emotionally scattered, and unable to make progress in life. Because wherever your attention goes, your life eventually follows. A distracted mind struggles to build anything meaningful. It struggles to create discipline, to create wealth, to create clarity, to create peace. And that is exactly why focus has become so rare today. The modern world profits from distraction. Every platform is fighting for your attention. Every notification is competing for your energy. Every distraction pulls you away from your goals, little by little, until eventually, you no longer feel connected to yourself. You feel busy all day but accomplish very little. Mentally stimulated but emotionally empty. Constantly consuming but rarely creating. And over time, distraction becomes an identity. A person who cannot focus eventually loses direction. Because focus is not just about productivity. It is about control. The ability to decide what deserves your energy and what does not. The ability to stay committed to what matters despite constant temptation. The ability to protect your future from unnecessary noise. Think about how many dreams quietly disappear because people lose focus. Not because they lacked talent, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they allowed distraction to slowly weaken their discipline. 1 hour wasted becomes 1 day. 1 distracted day becomes 1 distracted year. And eventually, people wake up wondering where all their time went. The frightening part is that distraction rarely feels dangerous in the moment. Scrolling feels harmless. Constant entertainment feels normal. Checking your phone every few minutes feels ordinary. But every distraction trains your brain to avoid depth, to avoid silence, to avoid sustained effort. And without depth, mastery becomes impossible. Wealth requires depth. Skill requires depth. Transformation requires depth. But distracted people struggle to go deep into anything long enough for it to change their life. Their attention constantly shifts. Their goals constantly change. Their emotions constantly react to whatever appears in front of them. And because of that, they remain mentally fragmented. This is why focused people often appear calm. Not because their lives are easier, but because they stopped allowing everything to control their attention. They became intentional, selective, protective of their mental energy. They understand that attention is modern currency. Where you place it determines who you become. If your attention constantly feeds negativity, comparison, fear, and distraction, your mind slowly absorbs those patterns. But if your attention feeds discipline, learning, clarity, and growth, your identity changes completely over time. That is why focused people grow differently. While others spend hours consuming entertainment, they build skills. While others react emotionally online, they work quietly. While others chase stimulation constantly, they protect their peace. And at first, that lifestyle may look boring to emotionally reactive people. But years later, the results become impossible to ignore. Because focus compounds. A focused hour every day becomes mastery. A distracted life becomes regret. And unfortunately, many people never realize how much potential distraction steals from them until years have already passed. They wanted success, but could not focus long enough to create it. They wanted discipline, but allowed constant stimulation to weaken their mind. They wanted peace, but surrounded themselves with endless noise. That is why learning to focus is not simply a productivity skill. It is a life skill, a survival skill in a world designed to overwhelm you. And protecting your focus often requires uncomfortable decisions. You may need to spend more time alone. Reduce social media. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Separate yourself from draining environments. Stop giving energy to people who constantly distract you from your growth. Because clarity requires space, and space is becoming rare. Many people are terrified of silence because silence forces them to face themselves. So they stay distracted constantly. Music, videos, scrolling, talking, consuming, anything to avoid stillness. But silence is where clarity grows. Silence reveals what truly matters. Silence allows you to hear your own thoughts again. And once you reconnect with your mind, your direction becomes clearer. Your decisions become stronger. Your discipline becomes easier. That is why many powerful people intentionally create periods of isolation and deep focus. Not because they hate the world, but because they understand something most people ignore. A distracted mind is easy to control. A focused mind is powerful. Because once you can direct your attention intentionally, you become difficult to manipulate, difficult to overwhelm, difficult to pull away from your goals. And that level of focus changes everything. Your work improves, your habits improve, your confidence improves, even your emotional state improves, because your mind no longer feels scattered all the time. You stop reacting to everything. You stop chasing every trend. You stop allowing random distractions to control your mood and direction. Instead, you begin building your life with intention, quietly, patiently, one focused day at a time. And over the years, that focus becomes an enormous advantage. Because while distracted people keep restarting, focused people keep compounding. Skill compounds, discipline compounds, knowledge compounds, wealth compounds. And eventually, focused people create lives that look effortless from the outside. But what others call talent is often simply years of protected attention, years of staying focused while everyone else became distracted. That is why your focus must be treated like something valuable, because it is. Your future is shaped by what consistently receives your attention. And if you learn to protect your focus in a distracted world, you quietly gain an advantage most people will never develop. Chapter 5. Stop looking rich and start building wealth. One of the biggest financial traps in modern life is the obsession with appearances. People spend enormous amounts of money trying to look successful long before they become financially secure. Expensive clothes, luxury cars, designer brands, constant upgrades, a lifestyle built to impress strangers, and behind many of those appearances is something nobody sees. Stress, debt, pressure, anxiety, because looking wealthy and being wealthy are completely different things. One is performance, the other is freedom, and many people sacrifice real freedom chasing temporary validation. This begins early. People are taught to compare themselves constantly. Who has the nicer house, the better phone, the more expensive lifestyle, the more impressive image online? Over time, comparison becomes emotional addiction. People no longer buy things because they truly need them. They buy because they want to feel valuable, accepted, respected, important. But external validation is expensive because there will always be someone richer, someone more successful, someone with a more impressive lifestyle. And if your confidence depends entirely on appearances, you will spend your entire life trying to keep up with people who are also trying to keep up with someone else. That cycle never ends. This is why many people earning high incomes still feel financially trapped. Their money flows outward as quickly as it arrives, not because they are incapable of building wealth, but because emotionally they are trying to purchase identity. They want success to be seen before it is truly built. And social media has intensified this problem dramatically. People now compare their real lives to carefully edited moments online. Luxury is constantly displayed. Success is constantly performed. And slowly, people begin believing that wealth is supposed to look loud. But real wealth is often quiet. Quiet habits, quiet investments, quiet discipline, quiet consistency, quiet patience. Truly wealthy people often think differently about money. They do not ask, "How can I impress people?" They ask, "How can I create freedom?" Because freedom is the real goal. The freedom to choose how you spend your time. The freedom to avoid constant financial stress. The freedom to walk away from environments destroying your peace. The freedom to build life on your own terms. And freedom requires discipline, not performance. Many people delay their future trying to look successful in the present. They finance lifestyles they cannot afford, spend emotionally when they feel insecure, buy status symbols instead of assets, and eventually they become trapped maintaining an image that provides no real peace internally. That is why emotional spending is so dangerous. Most impulsive purchases are not logical. They are emotional attempts to temporarily change how someone feels. Lonely people buy comfort. Insecure people buy status. Stressed people buy distraction. Bored people buy stimulation. But temporary emotional relief often creates long-term financial pressure. And over time, those small emotional decisions compound into enormous consequences. A person may look wealthy externally while privately feeling overwhelmed financially. That contradiction destroys peace. Because appearances cannot replace stability, this is why disciplined people often look behind temporarily. While others spend aggressively trying to appear successful, disciplined individuals quietly build foundations. They save, invest, learn, develop skills, control spending, protect long-term goals. And at first, nobody notices. In fact, society often rewards appearance more than discipline in the short term. The loud person gets attention. The flashy lifestyle gets admiration. The disciplined builder often gets overlooked. But time changes everything. Because eventually, performance becomes exhausting. and reality always catches up. The person obsessed with appearances becomes trapped maintaining them. The disciplined person becomes free. That is the difference. Real wealth creates options. Fake wealth creates pressure. One expands your life. The other controls it. And this mindset shift is incredibly important. Stop treating money as a tool for attention. Start treating it as a tool for freedom. That single shift changes behavior completely. You become more intentional, more patient, less emotional with spending. You stop asking, "How will this make me look?" and start asking, "How will this affect my future?" That question alone can change someone's financial destiny, because financially intelligent people understand something emotionally reactive people ignore. Every dollar spent represents energy, time, and future opportunity. Money is not just paper. It represents hours of your life, focus, stress, sacrifice, work. And when you begin viewing money differently, impulsive spending loses some of its emotional power. You stop trying to impress everyone around you. You stop competing with strangers online. You stop making financial decisions based on insecurity, and slowly, your life becomes calmer, simpler, stronger. Because real confidence does not need constant display. A truly disciplined person does not feel the need to perform success every day. They are too focused building it, quietly, patiently, without needing applause. This is why many wealthy people appear ordinary on the surface. Because their priority is not attention, it is ownership, freedom, control, peace. And those things are infinitely more valuable than temporary status. The dangerous thing about chasing appearances is that it delays real growth. A person focused on looking successful often avoids the uncomfortable work required to actually become successful. The work nobody applauds. The sacrifice nobody sees. The consistency nobody notices. But that invisible work is where real wealth is built. Not in image, not in performance, not in comparison, but in discipline repeated quietly over long periods of time. And eventually, that discipline creates something appearances never can: peace of mind. Because nothing feels better than knowing your future is becoming stronger instead of more fragile. Nothing feels better than living below your means while building above your circumstances. Nothing feels better than quiet financial confidence. That is real wealth. Not noise, not attention, not validation. Freedom. And the moment you stop trying to look rich, you finally begin building something real. Chapter 6. Small disciplines create massive futures. A powerful life is rarely built through one dramatic decision. It is built through small actions, repeated consistently, for years. That is the part many people underestimate. They want transformation to feel intense, fast, exciting, life-changing overnight. But real change usually looks quiet in the beginning, almost invisible. A person wakes up slightly earlier each morning, reads a few pages every day, starts saving money consistently, exercises even when tired, keeps promises to themselves. None of these actions seem extraordinary at first, but over time, they completely reshape identity. Because your daily habits are not just creating results, they are creating you. Every repeated action sends a message to your mind about who you are. When you constantly procrastinate, avoid discomfort, and break promises to yourself, your identity weakens. You begin seeing yourself as inconsistent, undisciplined, unreliable. But when you repeatedly follow through, even in small ways, something powerful happens internally. You begin trusting yourself again, and self-trust changes everything. Many people fail not because they lack goals. They fail because they lack systems. Goals create direction, but habits create transformation. A person may dream about becoming wealthy, healthy, focused, or successful. But if their daily behavior contradicts that vision, the future they want never materializes. Because the future is built through repetition, not intention alone. This is why small disciplines matter so much. A single disciplined action may not change your life immediately, but repeated for years, it becomes life-changing. Reading 10 pages a day seems small, until it becomes dozens of books over time. Saving a little money consistently seems insignificant, until years later when financial pressure no longer controls your life. Practicing focus for 1 hour daily seems simple. Until that focus creates mastery, most people never develop. The problem is that people are emotionally addicted to dramatic progress. They want visible results instantly. And because small habits feel insignificant, they abandon them too early. But success is often hidden inside boring consistency. The person who quietly improves every day eventually becomes impossible to ignore. Not because they moved faster than everyone else, but because they never stopped moving. This is where discipline becomes powerful. Discipline removes dependence on mood. Emotionally reactive people only act when they feel inspired. Disciplined people act because they decided who they want to become. That difference creates completely different lives. One person waits for motivation, the other creates systems. One person negotiates with emotions every morning, the other follows routines automatically. And over time, routines become identity. Think about how many people sabotage their own future simply because they cannot remain consistent with small behaviors. They start exercising for 1 week, then stop. Start budgeting for 1 month, then quit. Start learning a skill, then lose focus. Every cycle of inconsistency weakens confidence because broken promises slowly damage self-respect. And eventually, people stop believing in themselves entirely. Not because they are incapable, but because they trained themselves not to trust their own actions. That is why small disciplines are deeply psychological. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your identity strengthens. You begin seeing yourself differently, more capable, more reliable, more disciplined. And once your identity changes, behavior becomes easier to sustain, because people naturally act in alignment with who they believe they are. A person who sees themselves as weak avoids challenge. A person who sees themselves as disciplined embraces responsibility. That internal difference changes destiny. This is also why successful people often appear obsessed with routines. Morning routines, workout routines, reading routines, financial routines, focus routines. At first glance, these behaviors may seem repetitive or unnecessary. But routines eliminate chaos. They reduce emotional decision-making. They protect progress from temporary moods, and most importantly, they create momentum. Momentum is powerful because once disciplined behavior becomes normal, growth accelerates naturally. The hardest part of discipline is usually the beginning. The first early mornings, the first workouts, the first days resisting distraction, the first moments saying no to comfort. But eventually, discipline becomes less painful than regret, and that changes everything. Because regret is heavy, people regret wasted years, wasted potential, wasted focus, wasted health, wasted opportunities they were too distracted or undisciplined to pursue. And often, those regrets are not caused by one catastrophic mistake. They are caused by thousands of small, undisciplined choices repeated over time. That is why your daily habits matter so much. Your future is hiding inside your routines. The version of you that exists 5 years from now is being shaped by what you repeatedly do today, not occasionally, repeatedly. This is why consistency is more powerful than intensity. Extreme motivation may create short bursts of action, but sustainable discipline creates permanent change. A calm, disciplined person, quietly following productive habits for years, will almost always outperform emotionally inconsistent people relying entirely on motivation, because life rewards endurance. not temporary excitement. Endurance. The ability to continue when emotions fade, to remain focused when progress feels slow, to stay disciplined without external validation. And eventually, those small disciplines compound into something extraordinary. Confidence, freedom, mastery, peace, financial stability, emotional strength, not instantly, but gradually, quietly, until one day people look at your life and call it success, without realizing it was built through small, invisible actions repeated for years. That is the true power of discipline. Small actions, repeated consistently, creating a future far greater than most people can imagine. Because your habits are never small. They are building your life every single day. Chapter 7. Learn to be alone with your vision. One of the hardest parts of personal growth is realizing that not everyone will understand the person you are trying to become. The moment you begin changing your mindset, habits, standards, or priorities, something uncomfortable happens. You begin separating from environments, conversations, and people that once felt familiar. At first, this feels lonely. You start spending less time chasing distractions, less time gossiping, less time seeking approval, less time explaining yourself to people committed to staying the same. And slowly, you begin noticing how uncomfortable growth can feel when nobody around you truly understands your vision. This is where many people quit. Not because they lack ability, but because they fear isolation. Human beings naturally want connection, acceptance, validation. We want to feel understood by the people around us, but transformation often requires periods of loneliness. Because becoming a different person sometimes means separating from old versions of yourself and the environments attached to them. That separation can feel painful. You may outgrow friendships, outgrow habits, outgrow mentalities, outgrow lifestyles that once felt normal. And when that happens, people around you may not celebrate your growth the way you expected. Some may mock your discipline, some may question your ambition, some may feel uncomfortable watching you improve because your growth reminds them of their own inaction. And this is important to understand. Not everyone wants to see you evolve, especially if your evolution forces them to confront themselves. That is why building in silence becomes powerful, because silence protects vision. The moment many people announce every goal publicly, they become emotionally dependent on outside reactions. Praise becomes motivation, attention becomes fuel, validation becomes necessary. And when external support disappears, so does consistency. But truly disciplined people learn how to continue without applause, without recognition, without immediate results. They understand that real growth is often invisible for long periods of time. A seed grows underground before anyone sees evidence above the surface, and human transformation works the same way. The strongest people often spend years building quietly before the world notices anything different. While others chase attention, they chase mastery. While others seek validation, they seek growth. While others constantly explain their goals, they focus on execution. This mindset creates emotional independence, and emotional independence is rare. Many people cannot sit alone with their thoughts for even a few minutes without needing stimulation. Music, scrolling, messages, noise, constant distraction, because silence forces confrontation. Silence reveals insecurity, fear, confusion, unresolved emotions. And that is why solitude becomes so important for growth. Solitude allows clarity to develop. When you spend time alone intentionally, something changes internally. You begin hearing your own thoughts again instead of the world's opinions. You begin questioning what you truly want. You begin realizing how much of your behavior was shaped by external pressure instead of internal truth. And slowly, your vision becomes clearer, not louder, clearer. That clarity changes decisions. You stop saying yes to things draining your future. You stop chasing relationships built entirely on convenience. You stop needing constant approval to feel valuable. And over time, your standards rise naturally. Because solitude teaches self-respect. A person constantly dependent on outside validation often struggles to build anything meaningful long-term. Their emotions rise and fall based on other people's opinions. One compliment creates confidence. One criticism destroys momentum. That emotional instability weakens growth. But when you learn to stand alone emotionally, your direction becomes stronger. You stop needing everyone to agree with your path. You stop explaining every dream. You stop seeking permission to improve your life. And that is where real power begins. History is filled with people who spent long periods building in isolation before the world recognized them. Writers, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, leaders. Most spent years misunderstood before becoming respected. That is the hidden side of success nobody talks about. Before recognition comes invisibility. Before confidence comes uncertainty. Before mastery comes repetition in private. And many people never reach their potential because they cannot tolerate the lonely phase of growth. They return to familiar environments too quickly. Return to distractions too quickly. Return to people who encourage comfort instead of evolution. Because loneliness feels uncomfortable. But there is a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness feels empty. Solitude feels intentional. One weakens identity, the other strengthens it. A disciplined person learns how to use solitude as fuel. Time alone becomes time to think, reflect, learn, build, recover mentally, reconnect with purpose. That is why some of the strongest people in the world spend significant time alone. Not because they dislike people, but because they understand that constant noise weakens clarity. And clarity is essential for building a meaningful life. Think about how difficult it is to hear your own inner voice when the world constantly tells you who to be. Buy more, consume more, fit in, stay distracted, follow the crowd. But growth often begins the moment you stop following the crowd emotionally. The moment you become comfortable being misunderstood temporarily. Because every meaningful transformation initially looks strange to average people. Discipline looks obsessive. Focus looks antisocial. Ambition looks intimidating. Silence looks weakness. Until results appear. Then suddenly, the same people who doubted you begin asking how you changed your life. But by then, your identity is different. Because building in silence changes you internally. It teaches patience, self-trust, emotional control. You begin realizing that external applause is temporary, but internal respect lasts. And there is something deeply powerful about knowing you can continue building even when nobody notices your effort. That mindset creates resilience. Because life will not always reward you immediately. There will be seasons where your growth feels invisible, moments where progress feels slow, times when people misunderstand your priorities completely. And if your motivation depends entirely on outside support, you will struggle to continue during those seasons. But emotionally independent people keep building anyway, quietly, consistently, without needing the world's permission. This also changes relationships. As your standards rise, your tolerance for chaos decreases. You become more protective of your energy, more selective with your environment, more intentional with your time, not from arrogance, from awareness. Because you finally understand how deeply environments shape identity. A distracted environment creates distracted thinking. A negative environment weakens ambition. A lazy environment normalizes mediocrity. And eventually, disciplined people realize they must protect their vision carefully. Not everyone deserves access to your mind, your energy, or your future plans. Some people speak from fear, not wisdom. Some criticize because your growth makes them uncomfortable. Some project their limitations onto everyone around them. That is why silence becomes protection. You stop announcing everything. Stop seeking approval. Stop explaining your transformation to people committed to misunderstanding it. Instead, you focus on becoming, quietly, patiently, daily. And over time, solitude stops feeling painful. It starts feeling powerful because you realize something life-changing. You no longer fear being alone with your vision. You trust it, even before the results arrive, even before anyone understands, even before the world notices. And that level of self-trust changes everything, because the strongest people are not always the loudest. Often, they are simply the people who learned how to continue building in silence, while everyone else needed constant attention to stay motivated. They learned how to sit alone with uncertainty without collapsing emotionally, how to stay disciplined without applause, how to remain committed without immediate validation. And eventually, that quiet consistency creates extraordinary lives. Because greatness is rarely built publicly in the beginning, it is built privately, in silence, in discipline, in long periods where nobody sees the effort except you. And if you can survive that phase without giving up, you become incredibly difficult to stop. Because the strongest people are the ones who keep building even when nobody is watching. Chapter 8. Become the person wealth can trust. Money amplifies who you already are. A disciplined person becomes more effective with money. An impulsive person becomes more destructive with it. That is why wealth alone does not create stability. Character does. And this is one of the biggest misunderstandings people have about success. They believe money will automatically solve internal problems, that financial success will suddenly create peace, confidence, discipline, or emotional security. But money rarely fixes identity problems. It exposes them. A person who lacks self-control while broke often struggles with self-control while wealthy. A person addicted to validation remains addicted to validation with more money. A distracted mind becomes even more distracted when resources increase. Because external success cannot replace internal discipline. This is why becoming wealthy is not enough. You must become the kind of person capable of handling wealth responsibly. And that requires identity transformation, not temporary motivation, not surface-level habits. Real internal change. The truth is, many people want the rewards of success without becoming the person required to sustain it. They want freedom without responsibility, results without consistency, confidence without discipline. But life rarely works that way, because responsibility expands capacity. The more emotionally stable, disciplined, and reliable you become, the more life begins trusting you with greater opportunities, and opportunities require readiness. Imagine giving massive responsibility to someone emotionally impulsive, financially reckless, and mentally undisciplined. Eventually, collapse becomes inevitable. That is why character matters so much. Your habits determine whether success strengthens your life or destroys it. This is why many people rise financially for a short period, then lose everything. Not because they lacked opportunity, but because internally they were not prepared to sustain what they received. They had income without discipline, ambition without emotional control, status without stability, and eventually pressure exposed every weakness they refused to fix. That is why self-respect matters deeply in the process of building wealth. A person who respects themselves behaves differently. They protect their health, protect their focus, protect their reputation, protect their future. They stop acting emotionally every time life becomes uncomfortable. They stop making decisions purely based on mood. They stop sabotaging long-term goals for temporary relief. Because mature people understand something emotionally reactive people often ignore. Every decision shapes identity. Every action reinforces who you are becoming. That is why small behaviors matter. Keeping promises matters. Finishing what you start matters. Being reliable matters. Showing up consistently matters. Not because these things make you perfect, but because they build internal trust, and trust in yourself changes everything. When you trust yourself, discipline becomes easier, consistency becomes easier, confidence becomes quieter and stronger. You stop depending entirely on outside motivation because your identity becomes your foundation. This is the difference between fragile success and sustainable success. Fragile success depends on external conditions staying comfortable. Sustainable success is built internally. It survives pressure, failure, uncertainty, criticism. Because emotionally strong people do not collapse every time life becomes difficult. They adapt, learn, continue. That resilience creates long-term wealth, not just financially, mentally and emotionally as well. A powerful identity also changes how you approach money itself. You stop viewing money emotionally. You stop using it for constant validation. You stop chasing status to prove your worth. Instead, money becomes a tool, a resource, a form of responsibility. You begin asking smarter questions. How can I create stability? How can I increase freedom? How can I build something meaningful long-term? That mindset shift changes behavior dramatically. Because disciplined people understand that wealth is not only about earning more. It is about managing yourself better, managing emotions, managing focus, managing habits, managing reactions. And that level of self-management creates calm. A calm person makes clearer decisions. A calm person thinks long-term. A calm person does not panic every time circumstances change. And in a chaotic world, emotional stability becomes a massive advantage. Many people destroy opportunities because they cannot handle pressure emotionally. They overreact, self-sabotage, quit too early, lose focus, become impatient. But emotionally disciplined people understand that difficult seasons are temporary, so they continue building, quietly, without drama, without needing constant reassurance. That emotional maturity creates trust, and trust creates opportunity. People trust disciplined individuals more. Businesses trust them more. Teams trust them more. Life trusts them more. Because reliability is rare. A reliable person does what they said they would do, even when emotions change, and that quality alone can transform an entire future. Think about how different your life becomes once you stop betraying your own standards. You wake up when you plan to wake up. You follow through on commitments. You stop making excuses constantly. You stop negotiating with every uncomfortable feeling. Slowly, your identity strengthens. You begin seeing yourself as someone capable, responsible, focused. And that internal shift affects every external result. Because your standards determine your future. Low standards create fragile lives. High standards create powerful lives. This is why wealthy and disciplined people often appear different energetically. They move with intention. They think carefully. They protect their time, protect their reputation, protect their mental state, not because they are naturally superior, but because they understand how expensive chaos can become. A chaotic mind creates chaotic decisions. Chaotic decisions create chaotic lives. That is why maturity matters more than excitement. Anyone can feel motivated temporarily, but sustained discipline requires emotional growth. The ability to stay calm under pressure, the ability to think clearly during uncertainty, the ability to remain committed long after excitement disappears. That is real strength. And once you begin developing that internal strength, wealth becomes safer in your hands. Because now, money supports discipline instead of amplifying chaos. This is also why personal standards are so important. Your standards determine what you tolerate, how you spend time, how you spend money, how you respond to setbacks, how you treat yourself, how you build your future. A person with weak standards accepts weak behavior from themselves repeatedly. A person with strong standards corrects themselves quickly. Not perfectly, but intentionally. And over time, those corrections compound into transformation. This is why becoming wealthy is ultimately an identity process. The external results are simply reflections of internal habits repeated long enough. Discipline becomes identity. Patience becomes identity. Focus becomes identity. Responsibility becomes identity. And eventually, that identity creates a life most people only talk about. Not because you became lucky, but because you became aligned. Your behavior aligned with your goals. Your standards aligned with your future. Your habits aligned with the life you wanted to create. That alignment creates power, quiet power. The kind that does not need constant attention or validation. The kind built slowly through self-respect and repeated discipline. And once you become that person internally, opportunities begin affecting you differently. Pressure affects you differently. Money affects you differently. Because now you are no longer controlled entirely by impulse, distraction, or emotional instability. You became stronger than those things. That is when wealth stops being dangerous and starts becoming useful. Because money follows people who can handle responsibility, and the greatest investment you will ever make is becoming the kind of person wealth can trust. At the beginning of this audiobook, we talked about something many people spend years misunderstanding. Wealth is not built externally first. It is built internally. Long before financial success appears in your life, your mindset is already shaping your future quietly through daily decisions, emotional habits, standards, and discipline. And that is why two people can receive the same opportunity but create completely different outcomes. One wastes it, one builds with it, one reacts emotionally, one thinks long-term, one chases comfort, one develops control. Because success is never only about opportunity, it is about identity. The person you become determines the life you create. Throughout this journey, you discovered 8 mindset shifts that quietly separate people who remain stuck from people who slowly build freedom, confidence, emotional stability, and long-term wealth. You learned the importance of taking ownership instead of thinking like a victim. Because the moment you stop blaming life, you take your power back. You learned how dangerous uncontrolled desires can become. Because a person who cannot control impulses eventually struggles to control their future. You learned the value of long-term thinking in a world addicted to instant gratification. Because patience compounds while emotional reactions destroy momentum. You learned how critical focus has become in a distracted world. Because wherever your attention goes, your future eventually follows. You learned the difference between looking wealthy and actually building wealth. Because real wealth is not performance, it is freedom. You learned how small disciplines quietly shape identity over time. Because daily habits become destiny. You learned the power of solitude and silent growth. Because not everyone will understand your transformation while it is happening. And finally, you learned that money amplifies identity, which means becoming wealthy is ultimately about becoming someone capable of handling responsibility with discipline, maturity, and self-respect. And maybe that is the most important realization of all. The goal is not simply to make more money. The goal is to become stronger internally, calmer under pressure, more disciplined with emotions, more intentional with time, more focused with energy, more aligned with the future you truly want. Because once your mindset changes, your decisions begin changing naturally, and new decisions create new habits. New habits create a new identity, and eventually, that identity creates an entirely different life. This transformation does not happen overnight. Real growth rarely does. There will still be difficult days, moments of doubt, periods where progress feels invisible, times when discipline feels harder than comfort. But remember this, every powerful life is built through repeated choices most people are unwilling to make consistently. The choice to stay focused, the choice to stay patient, the choice to continue building when nobody notices, the choice to protect your future instead of sacrificing it for temporary pleasure. Those choices may feel small in the moment, but repeated over years, they become life-changing. That is how real wealth is built, quietly, slowly, intentionally, not through constant motivation, not through shortcuts, but through mindset, discipline, and emotional maturity practiced daily. And as this audiobook comes to an end, understand something important. You do not need to become perfect to change your life. You simply need to become more intentional than you were yesterday. A little more disciplined, a little more focused, a little more patient, a little more honest with yourself, because transformation compounds the same way wealth does. One decision at a time. So starting today, ask yourself a different question. Not, how fast can I become successful? But, who do I need to become to create the life I truly want? That question changes everything. Because the future you desire is not built through wishing. It is built through identity, through standards, through habits, through repeated actions nobody sees. And one day, if you stay committed long enough, people may look at your life and call it success. But you will know the truth. It was never luck. It was mindset. It was discipline. It was the quiet decision to keep building yourself while the world stayed distracted. And that is where real wealth begins. Not in your bank account first, but in your mind. So build the mind first. The millions come later.